Continuum, why would you say that? I'm not. I haven't, like, I look awful today, to be kind of frank. I do not look hot today. Honestly, I've been I didn't sleep super well, so why? So, ooh, you didn't hear anything. Ooh, thanks, the rat and continuum. Oh, I'm sorry, MJ. Oh, yes, I have, Miss Wicked Wolf. Alright, I should pop on now. You clearly all know I'm here. Let's see. Hello, everybody! How is everyone doing today? Let me make sure I'm up. Let's turn on the music. Let's turn this up. How is everyone doing this evening? It's good to see you, Don, Athelius, Continuum, John, Miss Wicked Wolf, Diana. Who else is here? Samantha, Corey, MJ Scott, Knit and Crochet Tiger. Ooh, shivering. My face just like, as soon as I turn this on, I was like, oh, my eyes. Ugh, I think like because I just changed the light in here. I've been writing a lot today. I've been doing a lot of writing and editing, so I've been staring at the screen, but it's in kind of dark, so I can like kind of bright behind everything, and then I just turn on all these lights in order to do a stream. And now it's like, oh, my eyes hurt, so I got to make sure I take care of it. But how's everyone doing this fine evening? Oh, Corey, tell Vale I say hi, and say hi to you as well. Oh, Orion sent. I just got out of the hospital. Sorry, let me put this down so I can actually like look at this. I just got out of the hospital, so I'm here for some soothing. Jesse, did you miss my emails for... Do you miss my email for Aces? I don't think I missed... Did I miss your email? I got a lot of emails this week because of the cancel culture video that I'm planning on going through and reading this weekend, but I might have missed it, so apologies if I did. They're off... Oh! Lights! Yes, Gozer. Evening, Sarah. Good to see you. Layla Farley, good to see you. Adrian, good to see you. Dark Souls 2 is my favorite. I hope this is half as good. So I'm actually not gonna play. So I put it in the title just because I'm planning on playing it this weekend. But I don't have Elden Ring yet. I'm actually gonna get the physical copy for my PlayStation tomorrow because it's not for consoles until tomorrow. It's out for computers now, but not for consoles. So I have been though. So since someone mentioned it, I am still in the middle of my Dark Souls 2 playing through. I literally just beat the what was it, the Smelter Demon, right? I believe it's called the really annoying demon who has like the fire belly in Dark Souls 2. I just beat him last night. Pain in the butt. But yeah, sorry, I don't want to tease Elden Ring too much because I'm actually not gonna play it now because I'm gonna wait until tomorrow. But I will be playing it on Saturday. On Saturday. So Saturday night's game stream, we'll be playing some Elden Ring. So yeah, this is just the chat stream. I just put that in there because I do want to play Elden Ring, but I just want to chat right now because I can't play Elden Ring until, because I could play it on my computer, but my computer will chug along because I have so much other editing stuff going on in it, and then it's just like, it won't really do anything. Is Dark Souls 2 recommended? I played 1 and 3, my friends say skip 2. I don't hate 2. Let me put it this way. I know 2 is the controversial entry. I think Dark Souls 2 is really good. It is not as good as 1. I haven't played 3, so I can't really judge it against that. But it's not as good as 1. But I can still see there's a lot to like in Dark Souls 2. But that being said, I understand why it's controversial. Some of the choices are intriguing, and I think it's a little bit like some of the enemy placements and things like that are a little bit weird, and I don't think the way the world is built as thought out as Dark Souls 1, for my opinion. But then again, some of the choices are actually kind of interesting. Like in Dark Souls 2, one of the controversial choices that they did was, in Dark Souls 1, if you die, enemies respawn. And so you have to face them again. Dark Souls 2, that same thing happens, but after you kill enemies a certain amount of times, they stop respawning. And that was done to, like, stop people from farming souls and, like, leveling up too hard. But I actually kind of like it because what it does for me is it makes me feel like even if I've, like, gone up against a boss and died a bunch of times and kept dying, that I can actually make the game a little bit easier and actually can feel like I'm progressing even if I've lost lost a bunch. It's by no means, like, the ideal way. Like, I do appreciate, like, what they're trying to do with Dark Souls, but I appreciate this experimentation in that. So I think it's kind of an interesting way to go about it. Anyways, by the way, Connor Fields, it's good to see you. Hello, live stream, short-time viewer and commenter here. Well, welcome, Connor Fields. Welcome to the stream. Also, before we get too much further, since this is a chat stream and since there are new people here, just so people know what this is my typical weekly chat stream where for about an hour, I'll probably go a little less today just because I'm in the middle of a bunch of work and I'm trying to get back to it. I'm actually working on a video about James Gunn. And then I'll talk about it in just a second if people want to hear about it. So I'll probably go a little bit less today, maybe 45 minutes, just because tired and working and all that jazz. But generally about an hour where I chat or whatever, I respond to whatever people in the chat want me to respond to. If you have super chats, I do appreciate that. Super chats do help me pay the bills, and I appreciate that. So any super chats get hearts, they help me pay the bills, and they go to supporting me in the channel. But if you don't have any super chats to send my way, totally okay. There's no pressure on that. I try my best to stay up to date on everything. And honestly, if you get super chats, I respond to those. But again, obviously, no pressure whatsoever. Otherwise, we just talk about whatever anyone else wants to talk about. Let's see. It also fixes the problem. Yeah, I agree, the rat. That ability for, like, the people to, like, the enemies don't respawn does fix that idea of Dark Souls student being less fair. Totally understand that. That makes sense. Well, thank you, Jimmy. I don't think I look great today. I'm tired. Like, you can tell, bags on my eyes. I didn't sleep super well. Just because it's nothing wrong, nothing's particularly wrong. Just a lot of, like, work I'm doing, and I'm kind of stressing out. So about it. Don't worry, I'm not gonna burn out. It's just like getting stuff done this week. It's almost over. There's a couple personal life things, and it's also exacerbated by some personal life stuff. Not bad by any means, but there's stuff going on in my life right now that's like anxiety inducing, I think is the best way to put it. Not bad, and I'll share it with you when I can what it is, but it's not. It's just anxiety inducing, but not bad. It's like a good anxiety, I guess is the best way to put it. Continuum Trek, thank you so much. Big kiss, J-Dog. By the way, Continuum, I don't think I've actually said this to you. Congratulations on coming out. I like, one day I went on Twitter and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you had come out. I didn't know that you were trans. That's absolutely wonderful, Continuum. I've seen it and known for like weeks now at this point, but I don't think I've actually said that to you. So Continuum, thank you so much for the super chat, and amazing. Congratulations on coming out. That's absolutely wonderful, my friend. Have you seen the Cuphead show on Netflix? Hey, Super PokeTuber, good to see you. Jesse's working like 24/7. I expect that's a little bit kind of worrying. I'll talk about that, but don't worry. Don't worry, I will be fine. I do work too much, and that is a problem. Again, Jessie is a workaholic. We'll discuss it. But the Cuphead show, J-Dog is your new name. Oh, thank you. The Cuphead show, I really liked. I saw it. It was really good. It was very much an ode to, like, old... I mean, the Cuphead games are fantastic and odes to this, but they're very much like that old Disney-style animation. And it was very sweet and funny and enjoyable, and a quick binge, too. There's only, like, 10 episodes and only 15 minutes long. The characters are so exaggeratedly fun, and yet it's so, like... It's, like, mildly dark, too. It's not like... Oh, it's not like kids' animation. Like, it's a kind of dark show, but in not an edgy way. Like, the immediate one I could think of that would be something similar to this would be, like, Happy Tree Friends. But that's, like, overly gory and violent, but still has that, like, childlike aesthetic, but gets dark as well. But that's more, like, edgy humor, where Cuphead is, like, kind of just dark humor, and I really liked it. It was such a good show. I really, really liked the Cuphead show. If you have not seen the Cuphead show, like, legitimately you should check it out. It's a very, like I said, very quick binge. You don't need to play the games. It's very good without the games, and also the animation is fantastic. So it's like absolutely fantastic. So darker in tone, Connor Fields. Definitely darker in tone, not just visuals. Like the visuals are actually kind of bright. They're actually very childlike and bright. It's just darker in tone, more like. Captain Omni, thank you so much for the super chat. Heart to you. You said, been fine myself, working on a book I've had writer's block for ages. Star Trek meets Buzz Lightyear meets Guardians of the Galaxy. Ooh, that sounds kind of fun. Buzz Lightyear itself is already kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy-esque, right? Like, Buzz Lightyear is already kind of like a Space Cops for kids. Like the Nova Corps in the Guardians comics, more akin than less Nova Corps in the movies, more Nova Corps in the comics and video game, right? So Buzz Lightyear is kind of like Nova Corps for kids, which has its own sort of complicated thought processes behind it if you really think about it. But that sounds wonderful. Star Trek Beats Buzz Lightyear makes Guardians of the Galaxy sounds like an awesome fun time. I would be down for that. That sounds like really cool. Hi, Rowan Crump. Good to see you. Boba Cat, heart to you, my friend. It's good to see you. It's been a hot minute since I saw you in a chat stream, I believe. I just wanted to be here and see myself recognized. I already wrote everything important in the Discord, and yes, I am freaking scared. Thanks for creating this community. Yeah, Boba, I'm assuming, I haven't checked it out yet. I'm assuming you're talking about the stuff going on in Texas / Florida as well, and also the Ukraine. Oh, you are probably talking about the stuff in Ukraine. I can almost say for sure. Sorry, I'm also thinking about the Texas stuff because that's also going on. I'll say this separately. Everyone in the Ukraine, my heart goes out to you right now. I'm sure it's abjectly terrifying. I send you my love. And I don't even know what to say. It is, I'm sitting here in existential dread about it. Not even being there. And I can't even imagine what it must be like in the Ukraine right now to exist there. I especially, my heart goes out to everyone in the Ukraine right now. But I want to send an extra thought to all my LGBTQ siblings, especially my trans siblings in the Ukraine. They're not the only ones in my thoughts, but they're foremost in my thoughts right now. Just knowing that, number one, the violence going on there right now is absolutely scary and horrifying. And also knowing that Russia's transphobia and homophobia, both socially and systemically and politically, is very well documented and known. And I can't imagine how horrifying it must feel, not just only to be in the violence, but knowing Russia's intentions upon the area. I speak about the United States and my very real... Sorry, Ukraine. Apologies, homebody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jax. Yeah, people are correcting me on saying the Ukraine. Sorry, I just meant to say it's just Ukraine. Thank you for the correction there. I talk about the problems I have with the United States, which, believe me, I have problems. We'll talk about Florida and Texas. But Russia is its own whole thing. And also my heart goes out to, obviously, the people living in Russia as well, who also have to deal with that daily. But especially Ukraine right now. I send my love to people in the Ukraine. And again, especially my LGBTQ and trans siblings there. So if you... Sorry, I keep saying the Ukraine. My apologies. I'll just leave it there. Heart to everybody. Again, apologies on saying the Ukraine instead of Ukraine. That's my bad grammar. You all know me. I have bad grammar. I'm in Moscow and I don't want to know how to feel my country doing full on 1939. Yeah, I can bet Vova Cat. Heart to you. Just heart to you, my friend. And thank you for being in this community, Boba Cat. I just want to say, Boba Cat, legitimately, I'm just glad that you're here. So, sending you love, Boba Cat. I think I missed a couple other super chats. I do want to talk about Texas and Florida really briefly. We'll talk about some fun stuff. But I do want to talk about, especially Texas, because I'm a little bit more up to date on that. The stuff in Florida is its own whole thing that I'm a little bit behind on, just because I haven't had time, because there's honestly too much shit to deal with and process emotionally and mentally lately. So I'll talk a little bit more about Texas than I will Florida. But Florida's also got its own stuff going on right now for LGBTQ folks. Not because one's worse than the other, but because I just know more about Texas specifically and what's going on there. But Carlo the Cinephile, have I seen Encanto? Is it okay if we talk about Bruno? Is it still a no? We don't talk about Bruno. No. We don't talk about Bruno, Carlisle Cinephile. I did see Encanto. I think I've talked about it in other streams, so I won't say too much. But yeah, I do like Encanto. It was a really great film. I thought it captured something that you rarely get to see, and I also like the smaller stakes of it. I liked that it was just about a family. It wasn't some big grand adventure. It was just a family. And yeah, there was magical stuff, and the town was in danger to a degree, but it was just about a family dealing with their own shit. And I liked that in a kids movie, that it didn't need to be we need to save the world, or it's all this sort of stuff. There's big grand adventures. It's no. Family's just gonna deal with its own stuff, and it's about that. So, LKSNY, thank you so much for your super chat. You said your channel gave me the bravery to come out as trans. To my peers, inspired me to try out my own channel. I super appreciate your work. Oh, LKSNY, congratulations! Thank you so much. I'm so honored by that, and thank you for coming out. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for sharing that you came out as trans. And I'm excited for you to start your own channel. That should be absolutely wonderful. That's so wonderful. Heart to you, my friend. And I do see Florida, Oklahoma, and Texas seem to be in vicious battle to determine who amongst them is the worst state in the world. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So I will talk about this. Hopefully, if I can articulate this well, maybe I can, because I'm debating. I have a lot of work to do, and I don't want to burn out emotionally, but I have been wanting to do a video on Texas just because there's a lot to say. So maybe I can talk about this right now, and I can maybe make this its own video and share it, but we'll see if that ends up being the case. So I'm gonna turn on the music here for this, just to talk about it. I'm gonna go through the situation just a little bit briefly in this chat stream, just because I want to talk it out. And then we'll just go back to having more fun. We'll have a fun chat stream after that. But I do want to talk about this. Heart to you, Haley. Melissa, thank you so much for your super chat. You said, my first time actually catching a live stream, so I'm busy lame old lady, lol. So happy to support you and catch it live. Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm sorry you're catching it when I'm about to talk about something hard. Usually it's a lot more fun on these chat streams to try to make it so, but I just want to talk about that. But thank you so much for being here, my lovely friend. Mwah. And thank you so much for the super chat. You are lovely and amazing, and I adore you, and I really appreciate you being here. And also, apologies if I say your name wrong, because it's a difficult one. But Finske Kake, apologies if I say that name wrong. But Heart to you, thank you so much for your super chat. That's really really wonderful. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, so let's talk quickly about Texas. I'm gonna try and make it really brief, just so people are up to date about what's going on and the harm that is being enacted there. So we talked about this several months ago, that there was this push by the Texas legislature to try to outlaw, I believe there was actually a law, I'll have to look into the specifics of it. They tried to pass a law that would outlaw trans-affirming care for trans children, namely the use of puberty blockers for trans kids. Puberty blockers often being drugs given to kids going into puberty, not like little children, but going into puberty, who just to pause their puberty and give them time in order to figure out what they wish to do in terms of whether they wish to go through a puberty that would sort of align with how their body would have them go through a puberty, or if they wish to go on hormones. Because both versions, whether it be going on hormones to maybe change, like I did with taking estrogen to, go through that sort of puberty, or going through a regular puberty, does cause irreversible changes to one's body. As much as I am very proud of where I am in my transition and all the choices that I made in my life, and I wouldn't change really anything about it, going through a puberty that aligned with my my biology, to use biology as a term, which I know is a heated term, but aligned with what I went through normally, it did cause different changes. My voice deepened, my muscle mass, sort of had its own things. My bones grew to different lengths, things like that. And so, and also, yes, thank you, Sarah. Please, let's no calls for violence in the chat. I just do want to say that there's obviously a discussion to be had about when and where violence needs and can and should be used in numerous different situations. And I'm definitely not like someone who's a complete and utter pacifist, but at the moment, especially, it's not a thing that, number one, I could even discuss on a stream like this, and number two, it's not something I'm completely comfortable with either. I'm not someone who wishes to engage in fighting or anything like that. Again, there are discussions to be had about when and where violence is appropriate and necessary, but let's just leave it out of this discussion for now, because that's not something that I particularly wish to engage in, if that's okay. But regardless, anyways, back to what we were saying about Texas. So there was a move by the Texas legislature to try to vilify these drugs that were safe for children. And also, by the way, it should be mentioned that these drugs are often given to kids for other reasons outside of trans context, and it was not seen as child abuse or harmful in those contexts. But the move was sort of saying that this was child abuse. And it fits in with this whole concept that many anti-trans movements, mostly right-wing movements and TERF movements as well, try to paint trans people as child abusers. I mean, I don't want to harp too much on Matt Walsh because, I mean, we'll harp on Matt Walsh, but I don't want to just use him specifically, but just because he's top of mind, and I did a whole video on him recently. Like, you can go watch his videos, and you can constantly see refrains of whenever he talks about trans people, he will constantly relate trans people to child abusers, because supposedly we're forcing these puberty blockers upon kids, but also they tangentially try to say that that trans people are trying to force irreversible surgeries, irreversible damages onto children. This is the same sort of rhetoric that TERFs often use. You can see it in Abigail Schreier's book, Irreversible Damages, her narrative of this whole idea that rapid onset gender dysphoria is hitting children and they want to be trans because they think it's cool, because social media influencers like myself are trying to trick kids into being trans, and then they're going to get surgeries and they're going to change their bodies without any oversight by doctors or things like that. That is not the case by any means. The only thing that most trans people would call for, and I'm sure there's exceptions that people can find somewhere, a bad doc, because trans affirming care sadly is not as explored and well known and documented as it should be. But in 90%, 95%, 99%, whatever the percentage is, a high percentage of doctors and trans people would argue that all we would want is for children under the age of certain consent lines, other than adults, full adults, be given puberty blockers, which are reversible drugs that actually prevent irreversible changes, actually prevent possible irreversible harm to trans kids, because if a trans kid goes through natal puberty, as I know very well from my own experience, it can be a very horrific thing. It can be a very horrific experience for a kid who is trans and learns that that is not how their body is aligned. So puberty blockers just allow a safe way for people to go through that. And to have time to get to a consenting age. No one is asking for trans kids to be given surgeries like breast augmentation, breast reduction, vaginoplasties. No one's asking for that until kids reach a certain age where they are able to consent legally. Which has been determined in numerous different states and numerous different areas. People can debate the exact line of legal age of consent for those surgeries. But generally we say not until they're older. So this whole idea of vilifying the trans community for asking for these surgeries for children is not only horrific, but wrong. Just abjectly, factually wrong. Does not happen. From there, so that's sort of the permeating narrative around trans people right now, that trans people are child abusers for trying to push these things on kids, which again, factually wrong and just also harmful to kids, just in general, who are now being vilified for trying to seek these things like puberty blockers, which should be safely and readily available and done with the supervision of doctors and therapists, and done through a safe treatment of having conversations with the parents, with the doctors, with everyone involved to make sure that it is safe to do these things. The other day, I believe the Texas Attorney General, I forget his name off the top of my head. If anyone knows his name off the top of my head, anyone knows his name, just please let me know. But the Texas Attorney General basically put out an opinion, quite literally just an opinion, that he thought that that what we were just talking about constitutes child abuse. That people are trying to push, the trans affirming surgeries on kids, and that is child abuse. From there, Greg Abbott's the governor, not the Attorney General. Ken Paxton. Thank you very much, the rag. Ken Paxton is the name of the Attorney General. From there, Governor Greg Abbott followed up on that with basically an order, and let's see if I can pull it up really quickly just so I can get my facts right on this. But essentially, he released an order calling for not only the investigation into this idea of child abuse, but asked for people to start. He actually made it a legal mandate. I'm going to pull this up because I just want to make sure I get exactly it right, because it's abjectly horrifying. So I'm just going to quick state this here. Where are you? Here it is. Okay. So basically, Governor Greg Abbott released an order that basically basically says, I hereby direct your agencies to conduct he's asking the Texas Department of Family Protective Surgeries to conduct a prompt and thorough investigation of any reported instances of these abusive procedures in the state of Texas, which I doubt he will find. But basically, he's using this to put that out there. And again, even in the documentation, he calls them sex change procedures, which again, if you're talking about sex change procedures, which, by the way, no one uses that term anymore, it's gender confirmation surgeries. Sex change is such an outdated term. But again, no one is asking for anyone to have sex change procedures on children, literally just puberty blockers, or, again, hormones possibly once they're at an age of consent in order to do that. But what is even more horrifying is that... right here it says, the Texas law also imposes a duty on the Department of Family and Protective Services to investigate the parents of a child who is subjected to these abusive gender transitioning procedures, and on other state agencies to investigate licensed facilities where procedures may occur. And it also, I believe, let me just quick state, believe there's actually a call for, and yeah, he also instructed all teachers, doctors, and caregivers to begin reporting any trans students they see. Which is, to me, that is absolutely the most horrifying part of all of this. I mean, obviously, the overall vilification of trans affirming care as child abuse is abjectly horrifying. But the fact that there's a demand for a duty to report trans children that they see, not only does that otherize and vilify trans kids, with people now looking at them and judging them and seeing them as victims, as something other, pitiable, reinforcing this and something like maybe harmed and things like that, as it reinforces, again, not to belittle anyone who suffered trauma as a kid, but it also reinforces this idea of otherizing trans kids, which also then goes to reinforcing, the mental health harm done to children, which can directly lead to increased rates of suicidality and depressive thoughts in children, which we already see is at higher rates for trans people because, again, how they are viewed and otherized by society. It is abjectly horrifying to do that to the kids. On top of that, to then report their parents for being child abusers and have them, even if they're found to be fine, which they almost certainly will be, the parents now face the stigma of having been accused of child abuse. They now have to deal with being investigated, which will not only, probably cause harm to their reputations, both within their work, their jobs, their communities, but they now have to take off time and deal with that. So there's an also direct financial harm done to them that they now have to worry about this, that they have to worry about this as a financial harm to them. They also have to worry about it as a mental health harm to themselves and their child that they now have to go through. And there's also a very real risk on top of that because of the way that these Texas, lawmakers are vilifying these people, that because of the way they vilify things, that they will take these kids away from their parents for being affirming to their kids, for actually doing the correct thing and caring for their child. That is what is absolutely horrifying in this situation to me. The denial of trans affirming care and all that other stuff is also horrifying, but it is not necessarily atypical for what these groups are. What is atypical, what is taking the next step, I guess is the best way to put it, in horrifying abuse. It's absolutely horrible. So I just wanted to talk about that because I wanted to bring it to people's attention if they have not heard about that. I think it is something that we all need to be pushing back against. It's also, by the way, reflective of the same self-report idea that is being utilized by the recent anti-abortion bill that Texas passed. The recent anti-abortion bill from Texas, as many of you probably know, as people have talked about it ad nauseum, is also horrific in that it weaponizes people being able to report anyone who may have gotten an abortion in order to sue them. Like, anyone can sue someone that they think may have gotten an abortion in order to make it even harder, and again, make it even easier for people who want to seek that health care to be harmed, attacked, and abused, and they don't even, and again, also be financially hurt and harmed. Whereas, someone who reports them can get a bunch of ways to get their money back if they fail in their legal services. Anyone who is accused of these things, they have to go through this legal sort of whole rigmarole, and even if they're found not guilty, they have to pay for these legal services that they now cannot get repaid for. So absolutely horrifying. It's the same weaponization that Texas is using there. I mean, obviously the abortion bill is much more directly encouraging of that because it sort of allows anybody to do that, as opposed to Greg Abbott sort of just saying like doctors, teachers, that sort of thing. But it's still the same sort of tactic. So yeah. Yeah, exactly. And just Carowin, also a really great point that Vera made, that these investigations will take away funds from real abuse cases, putting all Texas kids at risk. Exactly, Carowin. This sort of like how transphobia also harms even more vulnerable people that aren't even the direct target of it, is also the case. It just showcases how these tactics are constantly hurting everybody, not just those who it directly targets, but constantly hurts the many people in the offshoot and in the afterblow of it. I know I've missed a ton of super chats, so I do want to get to them. One thing that I will say that I did not mention earlier, like I said, there's other stuff going on in Florida right now with their Don't Say Gay bill. Again, that is one that I've just because I've been following the Texas stuff for a little bit longer. Just because I've been able to follow it, because I've been aware of it for a longer time, because there was also this like vilification of it earlier in the year that I did a whole video on. But Florida, I'm just going to read this just so people are aware of it, and then I'm going to get to the super chats and we'll talk about more fun things. But I'll just read this out. This is from NPR. Florida House passes controversial measure dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by critics. Florida's House of Representatives passed a controversial bill on Thursday limiting when and how teachers and school staff can discuss gender and sexual orientation in the classroom. So yes, so opponents, many of whom have taken to calling the measure Don't Say Gay bill, say that it will make life harder for LGBT youth who are already face a higher rate of bullying and higher risk of suicide than their straight cisgender peers. And so yeah, it's sort of like aims to have schools teach gender and sexuality at a quote appropriate age and keeps parents informed of what's happening in the classroom. Again, it goes to the whole idea that like somehow sexuality is somehow like adult. Like, we can have children's books and things where, a guy and a girl end up together. The princess marries the prince and they kiss and all that. And yet, two boys, two girls doing the exact same thing in a non-sexual context is deemed as adult and inappropriate and sexualizing children. It's absolutely just the same sort of thing. And it goes to this whole, sorry, I'm getting very politically heated, and I apologize, everybody. But it goes to the same exact, and I'm just pulling back up the chat real quick. It's going back to the same exact idea of, sorry, one second, let me just pull this back up real quick. It's going back to this same exact targeted attack on educational institutions in this country, going right down to this whole, critical race theory idea, the sort of weaponization of critical race theory, which not being taught in schools, it's a college level theory, but using that to sort of instill a fear-mongering campaign in their base in order to whip up people to show up to vote for Republicans in the right way. It just goes back to that exact same idea. And while I will say this, while Florida's Don't Say Gay bill is the most directly targeted at LGBTQ issues, this is not just a Florida problem, but one that we are seeing in many red states around the country doing very similar things. For example, there is a bill, I forget which state it was, I'll have to look it up, and I apologize that I don't have it right on hand, but there is a bill that was passed that basically stated that like you can't teach kids that something that would go against their like parents' religious beliefs, or it would make them feel uncomfortable in the classroom. I think there's like numerous bills that say those sort of things, but those are so nebulous that it's very unclear what they mean, and it's not just there. And it's the number one, the nebulousness of the wording is obviously there to allow bigots and lawmakers and politicians to have a wide net in order to attack people talking about LGBTQ issues, trans issues, racial issues in educational context. But also, it's meant to have a chilling effect on the teachers themselves talking about anything too, because they, instead of like talking about it, because they don't know exactly what they can or cannot say because there's no clear established rules, most teachers will just stop saying anything. And I as much as like, I love the heroic teacher, kids want I mean, teachers want to have a safe job, and teachers have continually fight these fights over and over and over and over again, and it just gets depressing. It's why we're seeing a loss of teachers entering into the people entering into the teaching field in general. Like there's been, I believe there's been several studies that show that there's just less teachers because teachers are leaving the job, and less people are going into it because of all the crap that people have been saying. And also, yes, the banned books too, with recently the mouse controversy, which was done for like sexual reasons, like, oh, you get to see a naked mouse, when really it's like banning necessary discussions of the Holocaust to kids. And all of this goes to show that, like, it all goes to say, like, kids are able to handle this stuff. What is more harming to children is to not talk about these things and leave them going into the real world, into adult life, with having no context for them. And that's where these things where misinformation gets spread continues and gets emboldened. I mean, why we see adults, why we see the trans community constantly attacked, why I constantly see, a lot of my work when I talk about, thank you, by the way, Eli, it's good to see you again. I will finish this rant up soon. I apologize for the chat, but I do want to just get this off my chest because I've been very frustrated. But a lot of the work that I do when I make videos, most of you, all of you, my regular audience, are with me on the ride. You're already here. You already know a lot about trans issues. You've been educated in trans issues, not just by me, but by other places. You're maybe trans yourself and maybe very aware of them and done the research and things like that. Or you're learning through me or other people that you've encountered. That's, I feel like, the large majority of my audience, just because that's the audience that I've built. But whenever I make a video about Matt Walsh, for example, I see a lot of influx of people who come to that video not even out of hatred, but they start to spread this same, they start to spout and say the same misinformation. I get so many comments from people being like, "You're a child abuser. You're doing this. Why do you say that? Why do you say like some silly ones like why do you think it's okay to dox and harass J.K. Rowling?" Which is something that I've repeatedly stated that I do not think is okay. But again, this misinformation gets spread because people are not educated on these issues, are not exposed to these issues, and so people in power can take advantage of these gaps in information in order to whip up their base into anger and vitriol in order to spread more harm. That's the whole thing that this does. Not only does this campaign of vilifying education and education about these issues done to embolden the people in power right now, not only does like saying critical race theory is trying to indoctrinate your children in school systems get people to show up to the voting booth right now, it creates a culture where children are not exposed to these issues, are not talking about these issues, and unfortunately when they grow up, then when they enter into a world that does have trans people in it, that does have LGBTQ people in it, that does have people of color in it, that they are not able to articulate it, understand it, to have a critical eye to the way to handle these topics, have a mature way to handle these topics. And then it just perpetuates the same cycle, because those situations, that anxiety that it causes in people, because it causes anxiety, allows people to seek out answers, and usually the quickest, easiest answers are the ones being offered by those in power in order to hold on to their own power, which is usually typically spreading more information and fear-mongering. It's a vicious cycle that constantly ends up not only harming everybody, as we've talked about already several times throughout the stream, in both runoff ways, but it directly harms the most vulnerable. It directly harms trans kids. It directly harms women, cisgender or trans, non-binary people, people of color. It continually targets those people, but it not only just doesn't harm them, it harms everyone, all people. Every single one is hurt by these things. It just directly targets and hurts, and immediately hurts those most vulnerable first. And those are the people who I think about right now. Those are the people who are in my heart right now. Might cry a little bit about it, especially the trans kids and LGBTQ kids, both in Texas and Florida, and other places. It eats me up inside. And I will say this, and this is the last thing that I'll add on this, and then I promise you we'll get to more fun stuff. And I'm sorry that this stream has become a me yelling session. I didn't realize how much I wanted to talk about it until I just got into it. This is a personal part of this. This is by no means the most important thing, as just speaking for my own self. You know, as I spoke about in a video a while ago about burnout, the other side effect goal of this is to constantly burn out the people trying to do the work to show up to try to fight these battles, to fight for these kids, to fight for pushing back against misinformation. It is something that I feel very, very deeply a lot as a YouTuber who wishes to talk about these things. You know, I'm currently working right now on a video, my next section Star Trek video, I'm doing a whole video about talking about masculinity within James Gunn's movies. I'm very excited and encouraged about those projects. Those are projects that inspire me. They're projects that make me feel fulfilled. They're projects that make me feel good about my use of creativity and my creative outlet. But this whole day I have felt horrible. Because I'm like, I am currently spending my energy right now writing a video about silly, nerdy comic book movies. And I should be using my energy to make a video about the problems going on in Texas. And I know that I probably should. You know? Use my energy there. But I don't have the ability to constantly be addressing these issues every single day because they come up every single day. I see it every single day. You know, I get people asking me every single day, can you address Texas? Can you address, the Don't Say Gay bills? Can you address the Adele controversy? Can you address, like, all these things? And I want to. Believe me, I want to. Especially my neurodiverse brain makes me like, I need to know everything and talk about everything and share every opinion that I have. You know? It especially targets people on the autism spectrum because we want to, like, we can't filter very well, and that's a me thing. It's hard for me to filter out stuff. I want to share every single piece of myself. And that's the goal, not just for autistic folks, but for many people who want to show this work. Constantly wear people down. Constantly throw new issues, new pieces of information. Like once one piece of misinformation gets answered and put out there and mostly responded to, then they create a new one, and then that's the one we have to now respond to as well. It is hard. It is hard to balance the desire to feed my own self, my own soul with something creative, positive, and kind. And also wanting to do the work of showing up to talk about the issues that are directly pertinent to those who are being harmed right now, like the Texas bill. And yes, I agree, Sarah. I mentioned the Adele thing just to briefly mention it is a manufactured controversy, in my opinion. So that's a whole other conversation. So yes, that is a personal thing. And don't worry about me. And I see people in the chat. Thank you, Catherine Lambeth, and everybody too. Legitimately everyone here. I see people saying this. I know it's important to take care of myself first so that I can show up when I can. If I burn myself out, then I won't be able to show up down the line. And there are people fighting right now about the Texas ban and Texas stuff and the Florida stuff. And then I can show up to the next one. Or I can show up when I can, give the energy that I can, do what I can. But it's also important for me to do the silly superhero stuff and the Star Trek stuff, which is also, in its own way, probably less directly, but its own way I still think is important to a degree. Yeah. So, it's tough. Anywho, thank you so much. And I will say this. I'm going to get to the super chats because I know I've missed a whole bunch. And I know I missed a whole bunch of the chat. Thank you for this. Thank you for allowing me this moment and this platform and to discuss this. And I already feel better talking to all of you. And I'll end this rant on this thought. That's why things like this, this community that we have right here, and all communities that we find ourselves in that build up each other, care for each other, recognize each other's differences, and yet respect the differences, take delight in differences. That's why they're so important. To have community like this. We care for each other, we think about each other, we build each other up, We hold on to each other. We cherish each other. And so I thank you for being there for me. And I thank you for being there for each other. And I appreciate all of you with all of my heart. So, mwah. Okay. Deep breaths, everybody. And I agree with Sarah. Everyone telling Jessie to care for herself needs to say it to yourself too. Sarah, I double that and second that and triple that. Deep breaths, everyone. We breathe. We held a minute. We bring Garrus over because Garrus is the beautiful boyfriend, beautiful alien boyfriend who makes us all feel better. So here's Garrus. He's gonna Garrus at us and make us all feel good. I'm gonna leave him right here. Makes me feel better. And yeah, let's talk about fun stuff. I'm going to quick go through the super chats. I do apologize if I don't give as much attention as you do, but I want to make sure I get through all of them. And I'm also sure that they're going to respond to some of the things that I say, that I was saying earlier. And I've already think I've said enough about what I want to say. So I'm just going to quick read them out, say thank you. And then unless there's something I want to initially respond to, I'm just going to go through them. So heart to everybody who gave a super chat. I apologize that due to the rant, I will not spend as much time on them as I normally do. But I do want to make sure I acknowledge them really quickly. So Haley, Melissa, heart to you. Thank you so much. You said my first time. Oh wait, I already read this one. But heart again, Melissa. You're wonderful. Fiskakake, you gave another super chat. Heart to you, my friend. Let me just quick roll through. Chloe, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said this week's blows will let me know how the Conan Blu-ray is tomorrow. Yes, thank you so much. Chloe, for those, Chloe sent me a Blu-ray of Conan the Barbarian, which I am very thankful for. I'm very excited. I've never seen the Conan movies. I'm kind of a little bit pumped for them because I love silly 80s like fantasy, like gem and fantasy, sword and sorcery, whatever they're called. Those types of movies. I've never seen the Conan film, so I'm so exactly super poketuber. Have a good night. Bye, my friend. Let's see. But yes, I'm very excited to watch it. So thank you for sending that my way, Chloe. I will grab that tomorrow. I'm running to the P.O. box tomorrow to grab that. I haven't had time to go to I usually check my P.O. box on Friday. Shannon Williams, heart to you. Thank you so much. You're beautiful and people like you. Yes. Well, I'm saying yes to people like you. I appreciate you saying I'm beautiful. Sometimes I feel it. Sometimes I don't. But people like me, I will say people like me most definitely are beautiful. Not to aggrandize myself, but just to say other people are beautiful. You know what I'm saying. I adore other people. Thank you, Shannon. You are lovely. Jimmy Lee Crawford, thank you so much for your super chat. You didn't say anything, but I'm sending you love, my friend. You're absolutely wonderful and a wonderful part of this community. I appreciate you. Oh no! My chat jumped ahead, so hopefully I don't... Because when I jump ahead, it sometimes erases some of my ability to go back. Ah, crap. My chat jumped ahead and I saw Mac the Knife gave a super chat, but I don't think I can see it anymore. Let me see if it lets me. Mac the Knife, I apologize, and I might have missed a couple others too. Mac the Knife, my chat, the window went forward, and when it jumps forward, it won't let me rewind the chat far enough back. So Mac the Knife, I'm sending you love. I apologize that I didn't read your super chat. If you are still in the chat, I'll keep a look at the present, so you can restate your thing. And if anyone else, I'm gonna quick go through the next super chat that I see is from Redank12. So if you gave a super chat before Redank12, just say so. I'll trust y'all. And I'll answer those questions at the end. Just tag me, say @JessieGender. This was my super chat, and I'll make sure to catch it in the chat. Just make sure to tag me so I don't miss it. But Back the Knife, apologies that I missed yours. Redank12 says, heart to you. If I'm far away in a blue state, is there anything doing more meaningful I can do to push back against these bills than donating? I feel like I'm not doing enough, but I kind of feel at a loss. The GOP moves like lightning. Yes, I shared out on my Twitter feed, and I'll share here in the chat. The best thing you can do, if you are living in these states, call your representatives. That's the first and foremost thing to do. If you live in these states, I would say if you live in Texas, you live in Florida, call your representatives and tell them what you feel about these bills and that they're awful. Bills and or statements by the governor. If you are not in these states, I will say donating is the best. Let me see if I can find those resources. I'm just looking for them. If anyone has them readily on hand, please feel free to share them. Here we are. Here we are. This is one for Texas. I'm going to put it in the chat right now and pin it. Let me put this here. I'm going to pin it to the top so people have it. If my mouse will work for me here. There we go. I just pinned it to the top so you can use that link. That is resources you can donate to organizations that are helping trans kids in Texas. That's one best way. And then the third best way is just be vocal about it. You know, if you have a YouTube platform, make videos on it, tweet about it, make your displeasure and known at it. I also, yeah, so that's the best way to do that. So I pinned that link to the top. So there's that. Alchemist1330, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that comment. Just reading here. Tracy Dale, heart to you, and big group hug as well. Sending love to you, Tracy Dale. Sending you love. Insomnaholic, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. I said, I think this covers a 4-pack IPA in Seattle. Enjoyed your videos for a long time, so I hope this helps. Also, I should, just to give myself just because, please, no more super chats for the rest of this chat. We're here for 10 more minutes. I should have said this earlier, but no more super chats. Please, if you're going to give me a super chat, just give it to the P flag, the link that I put above. So any super chats from here on in, I'm going. Kiwi just gave one, but I appreciate you. Any super chats from here, I'm going to donate to P flag. Otherwise, just donate to P flag, I would say. Catherine Lambeth, heart to you. You said, Jessie, please take some time to be kind to yourself. You can't stop Texas from being Texas. Thank you so much, Catherine. I appreciate that. I really do. Carla, listener-file, heart to you. Said, your videos bring joy to so many people. I know from my own experience here, kind of never fails to brighten my day. You're afraid of the good thing. You make fun, nerdy content. I appreciate that. I know. It's the joyous stuff is just as important, if sometimes not more important, than the talking about horrific stuff. It's important for me, and I know it's important for other people, but sometimes you don't feel that. Sometimes you just want to rage against stupid people being stupid. So. Knit and Crochet Tiger, is there a new video dropping tomorrow? No. Next. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. Actually, can I say this now? I mean, I have to check an email to make sure I can say this. Yes, I can. Okay. There will not be a video on this channel tomorrow. This is actually a joyous thing. Let me take a moment to be joyous. By the way, Babita, just be careful. I know you're sending all those emojis. I appreciate you and love you. You're wonderful. But it will kind of be spammy, and you'll get timed out if you spam too much. So just know that. But what was I saying? Yes, joyous. So it will not be on this channel. It'll be on my other channel, Jessie Gender After Dark. But I had the distinct honor of getting to interview Kirsten Byers and Mike Johnson, who, if you know those names, Kirsten Byers is the showrunner of not showrunner. She's the executive producer. She is a executive producer, not the showrunner, on Star Trek Picard, as well as on Discovery and Strange New Worlds. So one of the executive producers of Star Trek I got to interview, as well as Mike Johnson, who, if you're like me and are a big dork, you will recognize his name as the the writer of the Star Trek comics that have been coming out for years now. I used to read his Star Trek comics. Like Star Trek Countdown is probably the biggest one that people know. He wrote Star Trek Countdown way back in 2009, the prequel to the Star Trek 2009 movie. And he's written numerous other Star Trek comics since then, but that's the one that I always think of for him. They wrote the audio drama, the 7 of 9 and Raffi audio drama, and so I got to interview both of them yesterday. The video is, that's one of the things I've been working on today, so that video is going to go up tomorrow. And I am very excited. We talked about LGBTQ issues in Star Trek. We talked about gay 7 of 9. I tried to get some teases for Picard. I didn't really succeed too much. But yeah, so that's not going to go up on this channel. That's going to go up on the channel, my other channel. So just because it's like an hour or so long interview. So check that out. I will share it in the community tab if you're not subscribed to that channel. So joyous things. There are joyous things. They're frustrating things, but there are joyous things. So that is coming tomorrow. Punk rock zoologist, heart to you, said, you always do so much good educating on us on all these issues. My cousin go through so much of this, as well as being an amazing young science instructor. And since exactly punk rock. By the way, punk rock, sending you love, my friend. Well, my friend. Let's see. Catching up on the chat. Garrus makes a smile. Let's see. Is there any other... Okay, here we are. I see. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any more. Okay. Yeah, a few more super chats really quick here. Jimmy Nails, hard to you, said, long time watcher, first time commentary. Your video about cancellation was amazing. Thank you for being smart, beautiful, reasonable human. Jimmy Nails, mwah, thank you to you, my friend. I adore you and I love you and I appreciate you very much. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you for being here and I appreciate you. And thank you for saying that about the cancellation video. That was another hard video. Too many hard topics. Way too many hard topics. Yes, I did see that new Crochet Tiger. I'll talk about that in a second. Let's see. Kiwi, hard to you, said, Garrus, I didn't know you were into Mass Effect. Are you into Dragon Age 2? If so, what are your favorite Dragon Age characters? No, Kiwi, unfortunately, this is one of the long-standing frustrations that many people have had with me. I love Mass Effect. I even have the Mass Effect poster in the background. I don't know if you can see it in the frame right now. But I have actually not played the Dragon Age games. So I will rectify that. That will change at some point on stream. I want to play Dragon Age on stream. It's just there's too many games that I want to play right now. Elden Ring I'm going to be playing this weekend. I also still want to finish Horizon. I also need to finish Dark Souls 2. I also need to play Dying Light 2. So there's a lot. I do want to play Dying Light or Dragon Age. It will happen. Believe me, you are not the first, and you will most definitely not be the last person to tell me I need to play Dragon Age. So it will happen. Just not yet, but it will happen. But I will get there. But of course, Mass Effect. Garrus is my personal favorite because it's Garrus. Who else would be your personal favorite? If you have other favorites besides Garrus, you're wrong. Of course not, but you are. All right. CRAMD voice lessons, hard to you. Big fan of your equal measures of kindness and nuance and your prolific engagement with black leftists, even though it's not currently in vogue. DM do a thing on Twitter if you have time. I will check the DM on Twitter. Thank you very much. But prolific engagement with black leftists, even though it's not currently in vogue. I mean, what? I didn't know that there was a thing to be in vogue about. Like, we should be, like, especially, you know, I've said this in my cancel culture video, but it is on me to be proactive in trying to not only what's the best way to put it? Not only listen to and hear voices from the black community, but uplift voices from the black community and numerous communities, not just the black community. I don't want to just focus just that. Like, every community, any community that, especially communities that, number one, I am not a part of, and number two, typically do not get a voice on YouTube or elsewhere. It is incumbent upon me, and it's not just a thing that I should do, it is a thing that I need to do if I wish to be in this space and do this work. It is incumbent upon me to reach out to those people and to talk with them and engage with them and platform them and give them the microphone when best as possible. You know, I will say, because, and I'll say this here because it's at the end of this video, so only a few people, but like, for example, you know, I'm doing my Sex and Star Trek video, part 2. I'm working on that right now, and there are elements of Star Trek when I talk about sexuality and sex that I cannot speak to. I can maybe, you know, do some research and bring up what I can about them, but it's not an experience that I'm ever going to have the authority on. So one thing I could do, what I try to do is I try to point to other people's videos if they exist, or if not, I try to bring people into the conversation. So in my Section Star Trek Part 1 video, you know, I had Aronach in that video. I had who talked about asexual community. I had Kennedy, who talked about Uhura as a black woman. And then for my Section Star Trek Part 2 video, I've actually reached out to Foreign Man in a Foreign Land. Wonderful, amazing. If you have not, by the way, if you have not watched Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, go watch Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, because he's freaking amazing. Not just as a black voice, but like as a human being and creator and just hilarious and thoughtful person. Foreign Man in a Foreign Land is freaking fantastic and adore him. He is doing a segment for the Sex and Star Trek Part 2 video that I am so deeply honored that he is doing. And I'm very excited to see. Honestly, I got to make him watch Star Trek, which was my biggest joy. So, hopefully I got him into Star Trek. Watch, he'll send me the video and be like, I hated it, it was awful, never ask me to do this again, Jesse. But he's adding a voice to that. And that is not something I should be praised for. I do not want any praise for platforming voices from other marginalized communities that I'm not a part of. I do not deserve praise for that. What it is a requirement upon me, a necessity upon me. Again, I spoke about this in my cancellation video, but it should be the bare minimum. It is sadly the fact that it is praiseworthy. It's seen as praiseworthy because a lot of people don't do it. And I'm not calling out people. I'm not shaming anybody. It takes work to do, and so sometimes that's hard to do. But it's something that we need to do more of, and especially in leftist spaces. If I am, in leftist spaces on YouTube, it has been very individually focused. I mean, that's what YouTube promotes, right? And so I'm gonna get into another rant here, but I'll just say this: YouTube is a space that quite often promotes individualism. It promotes, promoting a single creator. I mean, like me, Jessie Gender. It's very much focused on aggrandizing a single individual, this sort of individualist concept. And I think if we want, quote unquote, BreadTube, which sometimes I consider part of, sometimes not. But if we want that to move forward, I think the two things that we most definitely need for BreadTube as a concept to evolve and grow is, number one, have more diverse voices be not only within it but take charge within it, which is why I'm so glad to see people like Foreign Man in a Foreign Land, FTC signifier Khadija Mboy take center stage in many respects. It's so wonderful to see those voices rising in prominence, and that should be even more the case than less so. I'm not, as a trans woman, I know I'm definitely marginalized in many respects, but in many ways, as a white trans woman of, a certain economic background, I am somewhat overly represented in this space, as in my identity. So I think seeing more of those identities needs to move forward. And then the second thing I feel like too, that we need to see more of is more community, discussion and more community interaction. It should be, me and other creators working together and trying to make content together and reaching out to other content creators, platforming other content creators that are still, smaller than me or, working with ones similar than me, really creating those interconnectedness, creating that community, not just for ourselves, but within each other. That's what, if we're going to label it as leftism, not to vilify leftism, but the whole concept of that is building communities. Exactly, Catherine Lambeth. White trans women with a costume budget arguably is overrepresented in BreadTube for sure. Exactly right. I hope that my work is artistic and thoughtful, but and I hope it's unique in many aspects. But white trans women with a costume budget is definitely a style, and I will not deny that. I'm very well aware. But just because something's a style doesn't mean I can't do creative work in it. Anyways, regardless, that needs to be done. And I don't just say that as just video essayists, but that needs to be done in all aspects. There's this whole framing of video essayists versus debate bros, which is a nonsense framing and only a hyperbolicized framing that uses to feed antagonism and stoke division. Do I think that there are issues within the quote-unquote debate bro sphere? For sure. I have major issues with the way that whole system functions, how certain things get hyperbolicized, binarized, oversimplified, taken out of context, debatified when things shouldn't be debatified. There's a whole slew of conversations to be had about that. But that doesn't mean that video essays are perfect too. There's very much issues with video essayists and video essayist content. And so I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, not a us versus them dynamic. I do think that there are things that video essayists need to be more clear on and be more vigilant on and do better about. So with that said, if you hear people say debate bros versus video essayists, try to push back on that, not in that's stupid, in a way to be no, let's not, again, that whole cancel culture idea, right? The whole cancel culture idea where we need to see things as good, perfect, and then the people who make those things as good and perfect, or conversely, we need to see people as horrific and bad, and conversely, the content they make is only horrific and bad, right? All things are shades of gray. Some darker shades, some lighter shades, but all things are gray, right? And so we need to do better about having the nuanced discussions, not ceding ground to horrific things, that we should have a hardline stance on, but otherwise living in the imperfection of humanity because we're all imperfect and just trying to figure it out. So yeah, that is my final thoughts for today's thing. I agree on everyone here. So I appreciate everyone's thoughts. So just quick announcements. Thank you, Jimmy Lee. You are a treasure. I appreciate you. And by the way, I should also say, because it ties back into our earlier conversation, embracing nuance and contradiction goes back to that education concept we were talking about earlier on, right? The whole thing with education is embracing nuance, embracing that there are shades of gray, that things don't have to be simply good or bad, right? The whole reason that they vilify things like critical race theory is because it acknowledges that systems are, inherently racist and systems are inherently problematic, that there is gradation even if people aren't objectively like, I'm a horrific racist. Most people aren't that, but it's perpetuating of these systems. It's gray, right? And there's nuance to discuss there. But people don't want that. They want things to be in binarized viewpoints, like good or bad, right? Anywho, goes back to that same concept. It all comes back to that same concept. It really does, honestly. Like, every single video I make is all about, like, find nuance in the things. But regardless, I love you all. Quick announcements that I will say. Tomorrow, like I said, not on this channel, but on my secondary channel, Jessie Gender After Dark, I have the video of where I got to interview Kirsten Beyer and Mike Johnson, two writers for Star Trek Picard. That goes up tomorrow on my secondary channel. Look for that. I'm very excited about it. This weekend, I'll be playing Elden Ring on Saturday night, so I'm very excited to play that. Very pumped to play that. So you'll all see me die a whole hell of a bunch of times on Saturday night, so be on the lookout for that. We'll do that stream Saturday. So that'll be Elden Ring on Saturday. And then I have a video coming next week, which will be which should be up for patrons actually this weekend, theoretically. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a patron, you'll get a video from me this weekend. Otherwise, it'll be up on Friday, both on YouTube and on Nebula. Yeah, I think that's everything. I'm working on stuff. I'm working on videos. So that's what I'm doing. That's my life. Love y'all. I'm gonna go have dinner, finish this gun video, and play more Dark Souls 2 until Elden Ring comes out. So I will love you all. Last thing before I go, link that is pinned in the comments. Please click that. Donate to PFLAG and help trans kids over there in Texas. You can also, I don't have the resource on hand, but I'm sure there's resources you can find to donate to people in the Ukraine. Actually, last thing too, if you'd also rather donate to people in the Ukraine, like I said, I do stuff with the GameSpot, and they actually just put up a video. I'm going to put this in the chat before I close out. If you wish to, sorry, my mouse is being a pain in the butt. If you wish to donate to the Ukraine, and I keep saying the Ukraine, apologies, Ukraine, keep doing it. I'm sorry, that's on me. You can laugh at me, that's my own fault. If you wish to help people, Ukrainians, GameSpot posted a link to it. I just put it in the chat. So either donate to PFLAG or to help Ukrainians dealing with that. I encourage you to do that. I'm going to donate some of the Super Chat money to that as well tonight. So I just wish to say thank you to all of you who did that. I love you all. Have a wonderful night. Mwah. And I bid you all a fond farewell. Have a good evening. Mwah, 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 mwah. I'll see you all Saturday, my friends. Dang mouse! This mouse does not... It's like freaking out and it does not want me to end the stream. Alright, here we go. Alright, everyone. Mwah. Love you. You're wonderful. I will see you all on